Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to use the scroll saw to cut out this Rubik's cube. We'll all remember these from a few years ago, and it's abstract, a wall hanging work of art kind of thing. Now originally this is the start and the finish of a project, as you see now, basically just cutting out all the white sections, just leaving that little black framework. And that would be the project finished, painted black. That's what the original looks like anyway. Now originally I was going to use the router, and we could have routed out all these black sections, just leaving these slightly higher and then painting those. But on this one we are going to cut out all the white sections. We've printed it off and it measures in at 21 inches by 19 across. And then we're going to cut out these separate pieces on 3.6mm plywood. And I've already drawn them out like this. Now the reason I've done it this way, normally you would just stick that straight down onto painter's tape underneath, spray your glue and start cutting it out. I just wanted to use up these bits of scrap 3x6 plywood I got left over. So I took my time, and as always for me, good old carbon paper. You just pop that underneath there and draw around it with I prefer to use a biro, but a pencil will work, and you can just take your time indoors when it's nice and warm. That way when you remove your template, you can just see from there that is the pattern underneath. And I did exactly the same with these. Put my carbon paper, worked out I wanted it on the thing, and drew around it. I marked all these off numbered 1 to 27 I believe. And as I drew each one out, we just put the numbers there, 10, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we know which one goes which. So there was all our backer drawn out. If I can just get in there to remove that. Get off. Right. So there's our backer, all nicely drawn out. And these are going to be our bits that we're going to basically glue on top afterwards. So we've got plenty to go at, and obviously we've got the template left over, so as we cut out each one we can literally just put it on top of the original and make sure we've got the right sizes and the right way round and all the rest of it. Now for cutting out purposes, for me personally, I use what they call a spiral blade. Spiral blades, the teeth run the full length of the blade in a spiral shape, and they will cut in any direction. Probably not the best blade for something like this because it is a lot of straight edges, and they do say you don't get a nice straight cut with a spiral. I tend to disagree, but it's certainly near enough for what we want. However, there is pin blades. These come on your more basic saws, and they're just up at the top and bottom like so. And with all your blades, they want to feel rough, smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. That way you know your blade's in the right way. It is possible to cut, and you'll soon find out if your blade is in the wrong way. One, as you're cutting, it will bring all the dust to the top of the wood, and two, it will tend to nip at the wood, making it jerk like that. So you'll soon know when your blade's in the wrong way. And the more professional guys, just get the right blade here. They use these little pinless blades. They're very delicate. They're ideal for really delicate close-up phenomenal work. Some of the people I've seen using these, they're just not for me. But a nice little chunky project like this, straight blade will do. You've got plenty of room. We're going to drill a pilot hole in here, and we'll literally feed the blade through and cut out these sections, and then cut out the full piece. Paint that all black. Then once these are all cut, we will paint these different colours like the Rubik's cube itself, and hopefully glue them on top. Hopefully, we say. We shall find out. Now, I'm not a scroller by any stretch. I'm more of a router kind of person. So when I cut these out, we will cut them out as best we can. I'd rather keep away from that line. That will allow us to get on our sander behind us, a belt sander, and we can come in and sand that nice straight edges and round off those corners. So don't be too panicky if it looks like my cutting's not quite right. I prefer to do it that way and just nibble at it with the sander. Okay, the only downside with these spirals, is they are a pinless blade, and my saw only takes pinned, so I have to use these adapter clamps, top and bottom, little Allen key, tying it on, and you would hook that on like you're hooking on a pin blade, exactly the same as your pin blade which we have here, just identical to that, but instead of the pins you have an adapter clamp. Okay, we'll do all these small sections first. So we'll set up on the saw with our Pegas number 5 spiral blade. We're going to cut out all those 27 bits, sand them down, get them shaped nicely, and then we'll come into this one which is 12mm plywood. So a bit chunky, that one, and we'll see how straight we can get these edges. Let's start cutting this one out. Right, so we've got the Pegas spiral blade in this scroll saw. Remember, it's smooth on the way down, and you want to feel that roughness on the way up. And on my saw, you take the tension up right at the back of the saw down there, and we've got a nice ping ping sound, as we call it. That way you know your saw's all good to go. We've got our little airline here to blow any dust away. We can start cutting these ones out. Now, we have no pilot holes. Pilot holes are basically wood that we would, holes that we've drilled in, and then we would feed the blade through. But we don't need it on these ones. We can literally just come in from the side, cut this one out, and moving on to the next one. So basically the same thing, 26 times I believe. Right, there's our first one cut out, and that's quite near to that line. These little bits you could just see there, look, but we're not to worry about that. I've worked out just a bit of sandpaper, laid flat on my table, not so much here. I'm just going to put it here just to show you. And literally, I'm just going to do that on every 4 sides. And that hopefully will get us somewhere near. Now you notice on this one, and it's the first time I've done it this way, I'm just lacking the confidence, shall we call it today, to do those straight turns, even though it is a spiral blade. If I can just pop that back in there. Normally you would come down, cut this, and you can just go cut it like that, and then go back up, and then across like that. And that's basically, you could cut out that shape without moving that wood at all. On your normal blades, you would feed that down on a straight blade, and then you would twist it and feed it down like so, and then give it a full spin round and a full spin round. You've got it. But on this one, I've just found it easier, just for me, just so we're not going to go too far off the line and make too many mistakes. As I where were we? As I cut down there, I went round the corner, and you notice I just come away from the project, spun it round, even though it is a spiral blade, and then come back on track again, and we fed it down all the way. I'm just finding it easier to feed the blade into the wood, put the wood into the blade, should I say. And same on there, look, made us up a little parking area for the blade. That's enough for us to turn around. We'll come out the parking zone, as we call it, back down, and so on. So I think that's going to be the easiest way. But normally I would just come straight down, cut, cut, cut. But this is a little bit more precise, this one, so we've got to get it right, haven't we? Okay, and there's our little bit more or less done. You will get little fuzzies on the back, quick sandpapering, like so, and that will clean that back off. Okay, there's one down. It says number 18 on there, we can ignore that. One down, 25 to go, I believe. Let's carry on. Right, there's our last one cut, number 27. Now you will notice with your spiral blades, you just see that little fluffy on the back. That's a matter of seconds to remove that. Gone. And we'll do that on all four sides. People complain about them fuzzies on the back, and I suppose it depends on your project. If you're doing quite a detailed thing and you've got to try and sand them all off, it can be a bit frustrating. But small projects like these, and it depends on the wood as well. Plywood comes off in a matter of seconds. And on each piece, each 27 of them, I've basically just got myself a nice piece of sandpaper. We're not far off with those lines. You can see there's the odd little section there. But apart from that, I took a chance and went as near as we could, and I've literally just done that on all four sides. And I find that's plenty to give you a near straighter cut as we are going to get. And that's it. And there's the rest of them. They're all over here. Right, so they're all cut out. What I will do, you can just see the pencil lines here. I'm just going to go over them. Just move that pencil line and just slightly, just round that edge off slightly on all of them. Plus, remember, we've got the backer to cut out. Let's cut out that backer. Just before we ever look at that backer that we have to cut out, remember I said about keeping the paper template. That's another good thing about using carbon paper and trace. That just allows us, remember we've numbered all these off for now. When we come to paint them, I will pop the numbers on the back. And that just allows us to make sure we've got our pieces somewhere near when we come to stick them down onto that 12mm backer. So that will be the effect we will be going for. All nicely painted in the appropriate colours. So now we've literally just got to get back to our 12mm plywood and cut out the backer for these little sections to sit on. Right, there's our backer, remember. This is on 12mm plywood, so it's going to be a nice chunky size. And the only reason I've done that is because it does have this basically framework going around it. If that's not for you, you could literally just cut it across there and just have the actual backer section just for the Rubik's Cube itself. But I'm going to leave that on for now and see what it looks like. If we don't like it, we can always come back and just cut it off at each section there. So for now, we need to drill what they call pilot holes, just those 4 inner cuts. That's just so we can feed the blade through and cut out those sections. Now it's going to be the same blade as before, Pegas number 5. So let's drill our 4 holes, get this up on the saw and start cutting this one out. Right, so we've got our 12mm plywood set up on the saw. We fed the blade through that pilot hole, remember? So it's a simple case of cutting out these 4 corners, and then we will slowly try and get it as straight as we can, cut out the actual frame itself. Okay, do that next. Right, so we made it all the way round with our little spiral blade, and you can see from that we've managed to cut out some kind of frame. Now, personally myself, spirals probably won't be the best blades for this kind of project, and you even notice on those smaller pieces I was still turning the wood. The idea of spirals that they will cut in any direction, but even with this one I struggled on my saw because of the size of it, so I had to turn and twist it in certain directions. And I do have the tripod with a mobile phone in front of me about 8 inches away, literally. Okay, we don't want them anymore. Literally trying to film at the same time, so it's a little bit awkward. And you can see from there, look, I'll just get close enough, can we or not? Just there, look, it's not perfectly on the line, but as long as we don't go over the line, I'm quite happy with that. We're going to come in with a sander and we'll get that nice and as smooth and as square as we can. If I look round, you can see the same on the end here. Look, that's just your spiral blades for you. Just not quite perfect, but that certainly isn't going to affect us. We'll get that nice and square as we can. The insides have been fine, okay for that. So well, if you're going to probably use a little mouse sander, just get those sides done nicely. Good old bit of sandpaper just to sort it all out. When we come back, this will all be nicely sanded down, and off camera should I say, with our other pieces, these have all been sanded down as well. We've lost all our pencil lines and we've renumbered them on the back, and we've still got our template for when we come to stick them all down like so. So they've already been done, they're all nice and clean and ready to go. Just got to sand this one down, square it up, and then we'll look into the painting side of things. Definitely got a lot of colour on this one, that's for sure. Right, that's it for the sanding down. With just enough to straighten those sides up, as you can see. I'm quite happy with those. To say we used a spiral blade, it was a bit tight in certain areas, but we've rounded the edges off. The only thing you do want to look out for with plywood, and you can see it there, obviously plywood's made up of layers. I know for a fact this 12mm one has 7 layers in it. So once you start sanding too much, you'll take the top veneer, can we call it veneer, and you'll end up with that, there we go, that yellow section. So be careful of that if you're not going to put paint on. But as we are painting all this, that doesn't matter to us. And we've gone around these edges, and on the reverse side, all the little fuzzy bits, they took seconds to remove. So far so good, as we say. So now it's going to be a simple case of painting this. Now, as I was going around this and tidying up, we're going to see what this looks like. We're going to just paint it all black, and then paint all the appropriate colours of the remaining pieces that need to go on top, like so. Now for me, at one stage I was going to cut out another centrepiece, just so it would basically raise it up a couple of millimetres. So we just take one of these as an example. So we would cut out another full section, and that would sit on top of there, just allowing that extra lip. And then obviously our pieces would sit on top of that. So you're almost on 3 layers by the time you're done, if that makes sense. Now I might be making work for myself, so I'm going to leave it for now and just see if we can get away with literally just putting our pieces ever how they go straight on, and if we get these same effects. So just bear that in mind. We might come back later and we might have another cube cut out to stick on there, and then them on top of that. But let's not get too far ahead. For now we are going to paint it, and we've got all the appropriate colours. There's a bright red, a yellow, an orange, a green and a dark blue. We might lighten that up a little bit. That's 5 of your colours, and obviously there's a nice white to finish it all off with, and the full piece is going to be black. Now I use these little painters touch paints. These are ideal for indoor and out, and I just like to dab a little bit of bit of water on my brush every so often, just helps them flow. No primer underneath, nothing like that, no sealant. I will have to go over it all twice, I can guarantee you that. So we have all these to paint with those colours. 27 if you remember. Right, let's go indoors where it's nice and warm and start painting this one up. Right, there's all our painting done. I went over all the pieces, all 27 of them. Went over those twice, and that just gives you a nice even colour. Some colours are better than others. I think white's one of the worst ones to paint, and the yellow over there, that was another one. But the reds, orange, blues and everything, they paint on really nice, as you can see. They are gloss paints, those Painter's Touch, but that is still not glossy enough for me. Those that's watched my previous videos. So we're going to spray this with a bit of varnish, and let's not remember the backer. If I can just get that in here, we've painted that completely black, and we're going to spray that. And I've actually painted both sides for some reason. I got a bit carried away, so we've done both sides of that, so that will get sprayed as well. When I'm painting smaller pieces like this, you'll notice I'll literally just get some painter's tape and then just stick a bit at either end there, just hold it in place, and they all nicely stuck down, and we can spray those and then pull them off afterwards, no problem whatsoever. So for now, it's a bit windy outside, so we're going to start off in here, and once that wind comes down we can continue. But 151 today, I must have brought a batch of these because this 151 has appeared in a lot of my videos now. So it's just a simple case of spraying. We don't want a lot, just to say we put some on, and you will certainly tell the difference. And I'll probably just do 2 coats, to be honest. I don't know if you can see from that, maybe not. It just gives it that extra shine, and for me personally, it finishes a project. So once they're all done, we will spray the back exactly the same, and then we have the task of gluing them all in place. Now, this is going to be 151 again, super glue, and a bit of wood glue there. I might just incorporate in between, doing both on the same piece. So that's going to be quite interesting, putting it all together and all in place. But for now, we'll continue spraying these and the back, remember. Then when we come back, it will all be glued down, and this little project will be finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So we've stuck all our sections down, all 27 of them. Remember, they were cut out of 3.6mm plywood, and we attached them to a 12mm plywood backer. And we've got a nice enough shine on there. For me personally, I think it just finishes the project off. I could have gone over this all again, but that's, just see there, look, with the light. That is plenty enough for what I need. And that's it. We are done. So it measures in at 21 inches by 19 inches across. We used a Pegas number 5 spiral blade to cut it out. With my saw, I have to use these adapter clamps, top and bottom. So if you are going to purchase a saw, get one that takes pinless blades. And then we painted it all with good old painter's touch paints. These are fantastic, indoor and outdoor. And the same with the black for the background. And then we sprayed them all with a 151 clear lacquer. Any varnish will do, just finish it off for me personally. It didn't really need it, they are gloss paints, but I just like that little bit of extra shine. And for me, for sticking down, I'll just use a combination of good old wood glue there and the 151 super glue, and they work fantastic. The only downside with those, once you've made contact, you literally seconds, you've got to sort yourself right and make sure you get it right first time. And I think we are more or less there, as you can see from that. And on the back, we just painted it black, just the same. And that's it. This little project is finished. Rubik's Cube artwork, cut out on 3.6mm plywood and attached to a 12mm backer. Thank you very much for watching.